I'm not sure if this matters or not, but days prior to Emma's death, there was somebody dressed in all black, like messing around her house.
And how did you respond to that?
I thought that was very odd.
But I'm trusting you guys, like, with my life, because I mean, this is 7 years in jail if I get convicted of something I didn't do.
A college football player goes on trial for the murder of his 16-year-old high school cheerleader ex-girlfriend. It is a case filled with lies, a secret recording, and a bizarre plot. We're going to break it all down right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Now, I had mentioned that one of the things that we want to do here on Sidebar is every once in a while do a recap of some trials that you might have missed, because we have covered a lot since Law&Crime first began years ago, and there are some really compelling stories that you might have missed. And that includes the case of William Riley Gaul, who at 19 years old went to trial out in Tennessee on charges of first-degree murder, stalking, felony murder, tampering with evidence, reckless endangerment, possessing a firearm during a dangerous felony, and theft between $500 and $1,000. And the former football player was accused of killing his 16-year-old high school cheerleader ex-girlfriend, Emma Walker. Prosecutors argued that back on November 21st, 2016, then 18-year-old Gaul shot Emma to death in her own bedroom. And this after the couple had a very tumultuous relationship that her parents didn't approve of. Apparently, he'd even been seeing her since she was 14, and this culminated with Emma reportedly breaking up with Gaul 2 weeks before her death. Now, it was alleged that the way that he did this was that he snuck into her backyard at around 3 a.m. and fired 2 shots into her bedroom, then goes back to his dorm for the night, because he was in college, and goes to sleep. One of the bullets that he fired went past the wall and struck Emma in the head as she was sleeping for the night. Experts say she died instantly. And while Gaul initially denied having any involvement in this, when it came time to trial, he admitted he fired the shots, but claims this wasn't murder. And the defense presented a very different, unique idea of what happened. 2 sides to this. So, we're going to get into this trial, and we're going to start right now with the opening statements, beginning of the case. Here is the prosecution laying out the allegations and their version of events.
She was 16 years old when she died. She was a student at Central High School. Some are going to say one of the more popular kids in school. Not the most popular girl in school. She was a cheerleader, an A student, somebody very gregarious. But Emma Walker was strong-willed too. She was a girl who had an opinion. And when it came to her boyfriend, who she met in high school, this man, Riley Gaul, she engaged in conflict with her parents. Of 2016, they started putting sanctions on Emma, requiring her to be eventually grounding. On October 30th, when they find, when the police call them and say, hey, your 16-year-old daughter's in a car with a 18-year-old male here, can you come pick her up? It's after midnight. And they have to go, that's it. Emma, you're grounded. But all those things culminate from the beginning of November until about November 13th, when Emma finally starts getting it and finally starts saying, okay, I'm done. We can't be together anymore. And he's saying things like, well, I'm going to kill myself. And he does try. Efforts to control, to manipulate, and to possess her. They start ramping up. And in that week before she dies, from November 13th, November 14th, is when he tells her he's going to take his life, trying to get that attention from her, trying to seek that from her, and she keeps him at bay. Up until Friday the 18th. On that Friday the 18th, Emma had been grounded at this point from October 30th to November 18th. It's the first time and Jill's going to tell you things were starting to get better at home. She's coming out of the living room and talking to us. She's watching TV with us. She's being part of the family. Jill is going to tell you things that she's seen a change in her daughter. that she really thinks she is pushing him away. Emma describes it to her friends as, I can't rip it off like a Band-Aid immediately. I can't break up with him cold like that. I'm going to do it over time. And then she begins that in November, but by November 13th is when she's really putting the pressure that she wants to end this relationship with him, and he can't take it. We associate the word home with safety. We associate home with a place we are safe and free from intrusion, from the government, from other people, and we're able to do private things. And our home, in this particular case, is 6802 Cardinale Drive, the home of Emma Walker. On November 21, 2016, in the safety and sanctity of her home, she was shot and killed by a gunshot wound to the back of her head, right behind her left ear, when this man crept into her backyard at 3 o'clock in the morning under cover of darkness, dressed in all black from head to toe. Black jacket, black hoodie, black sweatpants, black gloves, gun, black shoes, taped shoes, and discharged a firearm into her house not once but twice, both with a trajectory intended and designed to kill Emma Walker. And so when you think about that sanctity of home, Mark Walker, her father, who's sleeping on the other side of the house, and Jill Walker, will never sleep so safely again.
Hey, so I'm going to take a guess and say that a lot of you who are watching Sidebar might be business owners, maybe even thinking of starting a little bit of a side hustle. Well, that's why I want to talk to you about our amazing sponsor, Odoo. So Odoo is a free all-in-one business management software that provides you with a range of applications that helps with the day-to-day of owning a business. Now, believe it or not, there are a lot of moving parts here at Law&Crime. I'm going to show you what I mean. So our HR manager, yes, this is the first time I've been in HR, I swear, she can use Odoo to manage PTO and new hires info. Our sales guy can use Odoo's CRM platform. Don't mind him, by the way, he's a very special individual. Now here's the kicker. You can try Odoo for free right now without even having to enter your credit card. You can even get free lifetime access to one of the apps in the Odoo suites if you don't need the rest. So click our link, odoo.com/LC Sidebar in the description and pinned in the comments, and try Odoo for free right now. Okay, it's also important to note why prosecutors say Gaul carried out the killing this way. They say that Emma was very bothered by Gaul, that she blocked him, that she didn't want him in her life anymore. But then he apparently used an app called Phoner to send anonymous text messages to Emma and even tried to convince her that someone she knew had been kidnapped and dumped outside a house that she had been visiting. And when she goes outside, Gaul is there. He was the purported kidnapping victim. This was a hoax, of course. This was just a way to get her attention, to win her back. And the defense concedes that. And he would try to make Emma think that her life was in danger or his life was in danger and that she needed him. For instance, there was one example where neighbors saw this man in black kind of walking through Emma's neighborhood, and even surveillance video captured this guy. Walker was scared. She texted Gaul. Gaul claimed he was not the mysterious man in black. Prosecutors say, no, he was. But what does he end up doing? He shows up to rescue Emma from this very scary situation. And when things became really bad between the two and he was begging Emma for attention, prosecutors say he killed her. Now, the defense did something, as I said, very unique and very interesting, because they acknowledged some of the crazy stuff that Gaul did, that he created dangerous situations to win back Emma, or try to win back Emma. And they even told the jury, look, Gaul pled guilty to one of the charges here. Yeah, he pled guilty to reckless endangerment for discharging a weapon into the house. But, and here's the most important part, they say, and Gaul claimed, he is not a murderer.
And so everything that Mr. Allen has just told you is what he believes is his theory of the case, that what he thinks the evidence is going to show. Now, there is no doubt that you will hear some of the most bizarre, reckless conduct of my client. You will hear it. That's what you will hear throughout the context of this trial. But the way this is going to work is, state makes their opening statements, we make our opening statements. They have the burden of proof, so they have to do that part first. Then they start calling witnesses. We examine those witnesses. In my cross-examination, we may introduce some exhibits to their witnesses. And then they call another witness, and we go through that process. And you're not to make a decision until after you heard all of the evidence. This relationship was a tumultuous relationship. I think somebody described it as a pretty crazy relationship. But I think what the evidence will show you is that this was a very on and off relationship. And Mr. Allen's correct. These two individuals would say they're blocking each other, not block each other, talk, block. And there are, I didn't know how much information can be on a cell phone until this case. The numbers of text messages, the numbers of calls, the numbers of images is enormous. And what does she do? The evidence will show that what she did was she reached out to Riley. And what she said was, I hate you, but I need you. And Riley says, I'm on my way. Riley says, I'm on my way. What she did not do was she did not reach out to Mark Walker, her father. She did not reach out to Jill Walker, her mother. She did not reach out to law enforcement. And by the way, nobody reached out to law enforcement regarding the November 18th events that night. As to the homicide counts, the case will come down to state of mind. And what the judge will tell you at the conclusion of this case is there are 4 different states of mind in Tennessee. Intentional, they give you the definition. Knowing, and give you the definition. Reckless, and he'll give you the definition. And negligent. But as you listen to the evidence in this case, know this. As it relates to the first degree premeditated killing in count 1, it requires an intent to kill. And some of us who are familiar with handguns may very well know that by shooting into a wall blindly, it will go through the wall. Some of us may not. Intentionally doing an act and intending to kill are 2 entirely different things. And I think throughout this trial, that distinction will become apparent.
Okay, from there, now let's move on to witness testimony. And one of the most heartbreaking accounts came from Jill Walker. This is Emma's mom, who discovered her daughter dead in her bedroom.
Describe the night, if you would.
I had cooked dinner, and then she had worked on homework.
Just a normal night?
And then she'd gone eat ice cream with her dad later that night.
So what time was the last time you saw your daughter alive?
About 10:30 when I told her good night, 10 or 10:30. Whereas getting her up earlier than normal that morning.
How come?
And she wanted to wash her hair.
Okay. She liked her hair?
She liked her hair. She had lots of hair.
Yes. And so what time was the plan for her to wash her hair?
I was getting her up at 6:15.
Okay, and did you do so?
And while I went in her room,
Well, tell the members of the jury, when you went in her room at 6:15, what'd you do?
and tried to wake her up. And
How so?
I touched her on her legs, tried to wake her up. And normally she wakes up pretty quickly, or will make us, or grunt or something when I wake her up. And there was no response. And so I went over to her shoulder and said, Emma, and then there was no response. So I was checking for a pulse, and there was no response. She was unresponsive.
Could you see what was wrong?
I couldn't tell what was wrong.
Okay. And what did you do next?
And I called 911.
And did you go back in the room after that initial time?
Yes.
Okay. What for?
Just to make sure there wasn't anything I could do.
Describe how you saw your daughter that morning.
She was laying on her back. Her tongue was out of her mouth. I noticed something on the bed. I thought that was she'd gotten sick or was vomit. I wasn't sure. But she looked like she was sleeping.
And what were you thinking? What's wrong?
I had no idea.
And what did you tell 911?
That she was just unresponsive.
How heartbreaking and chilling is it for this mother to find out her daughter is dead like that? She didn't even realize that Emma had been shot, that vomit was actually, and I'm sorry to get graphic here, but it was blood and it was brain matter. That's an image she has to live with now for the rest of her life. And speaking about Emma's parents, Jill and Mark, they both testified. And they discussed problems in Gaul and Emma's relationships, how they didn't like how he treated her, how he didn't respect them as parents, and also the age difference. But under cross-examination, the defense seemed to try to show that this wasn't all Gaul, that Emma also participated in this relationship continuing, that she helped to sneak him into the house, and that she wasn't so forthcoming with information about Gaul to her parents. But now I want to highlight one of the strangest aspects in this case, that Riley Gaul, in the days leading up to Emma's death, and I mentioned this, pretended to be kidnapped to get Emma's attention. That an anonymous number texted Emma one night, "Go to your car with your keys." This is what the text read. "Go alone. I've got someone you love. If you don't comply, I will hurt them." This was when she was hanging out with friends at a friend's house. So they go outside, and what do they see? They see Riley Gaul saying he had been abducted. And I want you to listen to Emma's friend Max Bacon describe this very, very unusual event.
And did you get close enough to hear what was being said?
Yes, sir.
And what was Riley Gaul saying?
So when we got down there, I think they'd already been talking for a moment, and Emma was saying, "So are you telling me that you were kidnapped?" And it was along those lines.
Okay, and what was Riley saying?
He said, "I don't know where I am, and my head hurts."
Okay. And were their voices normal or raised?
Raised, when he seemed upset.
Okay. And what did Emma tell him after that?
I'm tired of stuff like this. I can't do this stuff like this anymore.
And how did he react to that?
He just got more angry and confused.
Okay. And what kinds of things was he saying back to her?
He's saying, "I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what happened."
Okay.
Emma started crying when she started walking back towards the house, and Riley turned and walked towards the Gibbs direction of Tazewell Pike.
Okay. So Tazewell Pike goes out to Gibbs or down towards the city?
Mm-hmm.
And he walked away towards Gibbs.
Yes, sir.
And at that point, you said Emma had walked up to the house. Where did people go from there?
So we went back into the, I guess, wake room. It was a sitting area with a couch. There were 2 couches and a TV.
Okay, and what did you all do at that point?
She went with Haley to the bathroom because she was still crying afraid of that, and we went and sat down.
Okay, and you all, did you discuss what had happened?
We tried to keep the topics away from it, to try and lighten the mood and try to cheer her up.
Okay. If you had to characterize how upset she was, how would you characterize that?
She was incredibly distraught. Violently sobbing.
How long did it take her to calm down?
20 or 30 minutes or so.
And do you remember, you said that the defendant was holding his head.
Yes, sir.
Were you able to, from your vantage point, observe any injury on the defendant?
No, sir.
Did you look?
I was just saying if he was acting like he was okay. I didn't see anything.
And you just used the word acting. Did you believe he was acting or not?
I think that he was.
Okay.
He seemed fairly aware of his surroundings.
Just kind of adds to the idea of Riley would do these elaborate schemes to win back Emma, like, I don't know, firing a weapon into her home, right? And let's actually talk about that, because how did Riley Gaul get the gun? Well, that is where we go to his grandfather, James Walker, no relation to Emma Walker. He apparently purchased a 9mm Glock in 2003, and it is believed that that was the gun used to kill Emma, and that Gaul stole this gun from his grandfather. In fact, here is Walker talking about when he discovered his gun was missing.
That you do when you get in your car?
Started, reached down the seat,
Why'd you reach under the seat?
had it,
And what did you feel?
holster.
Was the gun in the holster?
No, sir.
And what did you think?
Problem.
And you are a carry concealed permit holder, right? You said that? When you say it was a problem, how big of a problem was it?
There was no bigger problem.
Okay.
For me.
And so what was your concern? Where was your mind?
They did figure out what the gun was.
Okay, and what did you suspect?
Didn't suspect anything at that second. I immediately contacted Riley.
Okay, and what did you say to Riley?
Do you know anything about my weapon?
And how did he respond?
That he did not.
In fact, Walker testified that Gaul never admitted that he stole the gun. Well, at least to him, because listen to Gaul's friend Alex McCarty.
What did he explain to you?
About the kidnapping,
What did he say?
that he thought people were after him and him up, and that how he was kidnapped and dropped his eggs in his yard, and how he stole his gun from his grandfather.
And speaking of friends, we also heard from Gaul's best friend, maybe former best friend, Isaac Ewers, who also provided some really incriminating testimony about Gaul's role not only in this fake kidnapping plot, but the murder of Emma.
When Riley pulls up, do you guys abandon obviously your search for him, right?
Yeah, at first we were shocked because we just heard that he had been kidnapped less than 10 minutes ago and he didn't know where he was at, and suddenly he pulls up in a car saying, "Oh, my head hurts, I'll explain everything when we get inside, let's just go inside, let's go inside." And we insist, "No, we can talk right here. If you're in danger, we need to go and get help, talk to the police, whoever we need to talk to make sure these people don't pursue you."
Okay, and what happens when you get inside?
Riley proceeds to tell us that he doesn't remember anything and that he was hit over the head, and he asked us to feel this knot on his head.
And so how did you guys respond to that?
We had already known this was a fib. We just kept pressing him, who is it, what were they, what happened, because obviously we're terrified for him if this man's been kidnapped. That's my best friend. I don't want any harm to come to him. So we press him until he just sticks with, "I don't remember." And at that point it was, "I don't remember," over and over and over until we dropped the issue.
Okay. So eventually it just faded away that he'd been kidnapped?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you never called the police or anything like that, right?
No, sir. We knew it wasn't a real thing.
When did you learn of Emma's passing?
The following morning,
Okay.
at around 7:30,
And did you reach out to Riley?
I did. He was the first person I contacted.
And when was it that you first saw Riley? After Emma died?
I did not see Riley after he died. He had asked me to come over, but I declined.
Okay. And why did you decline?
Because I knew that he had a hand in what happened.
I'll object to calls for speculation, Tips. Ma'am,
Tell us why you knew that. Let me back you up a little bit. Based on your conversation that you had with Alex after Alex came home from the pilot, did you at one point confront Riley with whatever information you received from Alex?
Yes, sir.
And what did you confront Riley with?
That he needed to turn himself in if he was really innocent, and if he was innocent, the system would show.
Okay.
And he declined.
And what was Riley trying to get you to do?
To get rid of everything that he had, the weapon.
Okay. And how did you respond when he was wanting to get rid of the gun? What actually happened between you and Riley?
I was infuriated.
So according to Ewers, Gaul tried to get his best friend to what? Help him get rid of a murder weapon? What are we talking about here? And speaking of his friends, because this is where this case takes another turn, and this is where it really gets bad for Gaul. At the request of police, his friends secretly recorded him. Yes, and he appears to try to tell them what to say to the police.
If I have to go to court in front of a grand jury or anything, and you have to testify, or if the cops want to talk to you again, whenever you talk to them, just be like, you were too afraid to tell them that you were on acid because you thought you were going to get in trouble.
No, that's true. I've never been through that.
Yeah, and if anything about that gun, just say, I must have misunderstood or something because I really don't know what was going on. He was just, like Riley was just complaining to me about some stuff. I guess I thought I heard something about a gun. And his grandfather thinking he took it, you know. We found this gun around in the back of her yard with 2 shots discharged in her house, like through a wall. They said they found my grandfather's fingerprint on one of the bullets. But if they had actually found a fingerprint, he would be in custody. You don't just find a fingerprint in a murder scene and not take the person's fingerprint that you found. That's what the attorney said, just straight up.
How do they know? Like, is it so? Like, your grandpa would already have to be an assistant. Like, what doesn't make any sense? Like,
Your grandpa, they would have to have it.
they have to have his
They
fingerprints on
do,
the file.
because the gun he bought, he had to get fingerprints, they swabbed them. But if they would have found a gun at a crime scene for murder, and they found any evidence with anybody's DNA to it, they would talk to them first. So they obviously lied to me, trying to get something out of it because they think that I used my grandfather's gun to shoot up his house.
But I'm trusting you guys, like, with my life, because I mean, this is 7 years in jail if I get convicted of something I didn't do. And are you busy right now? Like, you guys do anything?
Not really.
It's not really.
Actually, we can go later, but
How much good?
I'm not right yet.
Well, can we go to the bluffs? Because I need to get rid of it, you know.
The blood.
I'm gonna throw it into the water. Maybe they'll never find it.
I'll try to get the water with like rocks. I can't handle that.
Well, yeah, we can usually do all the little bugs.
Sure.
We can go on that, the smaller ledge, it really looks out of the water. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm right under.
Yeah. And if I throw it with enough force, yeah, I know it's terrifying. You guys don't have to come with me if you don't want to.
I mean, I'm not too bad, man.
I just need
Jesus Christ, dude. I trust that.
if it's in the Tennessee River, they will never find it.
I'm trusting you guys with my life. Wow. Now, according to him, what did he say on this recording? Seems like he's trying to avoid arrest, wants to get rid of the gun, denies shooting Emma, denies shooting her, but says he just had the gun because he was scared, and says if the police ask you about me stealing the gun or taking the gun or what I said to you regarding it, just say you misunderstood me, you were high on acid. Now, the defense had kind of a uphill battle, but mostly through cross-examination of witnesses, they were again trying to suggest, yes, Riley Gaul may have fired this weapon, but he had no intention to kill Emma, and that is an element of murder. Did he intend to kill her? That this was not what he wanted to happen in any which way, that he loved her. He wanted to scare her to win her back in some kind of weird plot, and they acknowledge that that's weird. But again, he did not want to kill her. That was not his intent. And to give you a sense of this, here is his attorney cross-examining a Knox County Sheriff's Office investigator.
You also thought that Riley was in shock, correct?
Possibly, yeah.
You recall telling Mr. Merritt that you believed he was in shock when you were visiting with him on the couch?
I probably did.
Do you believe he was in shock?
I don't know that to be, just from past experience, from seeing other people, you know.
And I'm not talking about necessarily today, I'm talking about back on November 21st of 2016.
Did believe he was in shock on.
Yeah, did he
November 1st?
appear as though he was in shock? Is that part of your description of being disconnected?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time when you're talking with him, you didn't believe he had anything to do with Emma's death?
I really didn't have nothing initially. But I just wasn't thinking of that.
Right, that would be the last thing you would think.
Correct.
that Riley had anything to do with Emma's death when you were visiting with him there?
Correct.
Based on your description of disconnected, being in shock, blank expression,
Correct.
and everything else you knew about Riley?
Correct.
Okay.
It's not easy reporting on these stories, hearing these details, but that is why it's always good to do a checkup on your mental health. It's so important. It shouldn't be ignored. And I want to talk to you about BetterHelp, our great sponsor of this episode of Sidebar. Therapy can be a place to work through the challenges you face in your life, including with respect to all of your relationships. Therapy is super helpful for learning positive coping skills, how to set boundaries. It can empower you to be the best version of yourself. And it isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. It's so much more. And here's what's special and unique about BetterHelp. BetterHelp is entirely online. You don't have to run out for appointments. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. All you got to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. And if you visit betterhelp.com/sidebar today, you get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/sidebar. So the trial lasted several days, and eventually we came to the closing arguments, the last attempt to summarize the evidence, convince the jury either that Riley Gaul is guilty or not guilty. So here's a sampling from the prosecution, and they acknowledge that there is a lot of evidence that can work both ways in this case. What do I mean? So in other words, you can say he wanted to get rid of the gun, and that could prove that maybe he wanted to kill her, or that he shot into the house with just the intent to scare her. That piece of evidence can work for both the prosecution and the defense. But the question becomes, what evidence do you have of murder, that he intended to kill her? Let's take a listen.
Calculated shot placement, fired twice, 2 different directions, hid the murder weapon, and went to sleep. All of those suggest premeditation. But here are the 5 reasons why he is guilty of murder and the intent to kill. And what shows you that this trip from Maryville, the fact that he drove 25 miles alone in and of itself would suggest that he had cool and deliberate purpose. He had every chance to rethink what he was going to do, and he declined. And so, the motive and the intent to kill. If you think about his statement, she was cruel to me. She said cruel things to me. She had finally broken it off with me. I knew this time was different. All of those things show you this was final for him. And all of the friends, the excessiveness, the manipulation, the control, all of those things add up to a complete and 100% motive to hurt her bad and kill her. All of those things. She was not going to not be with me, and she was not going to talk to me the way she was talking to me. And so he had that motive and that premeditation. And these are in order, I think, in order of the importance of why you can say there's an intent to kill here versus an intent to hurt. Shot placement. When you think about the fact at 3 o'clock in the morning, dressed in black, he's standing outside a 16-year-old girl's bedroom, and you think of all the places he could have placed that shot. All the things that he could have done.
I'll object.
Shoot up into the air, shoot in through the window, anywhere, but where you shot. Shot placement shows you an intent to kill.
And then we heard once again from the defense, who tried to raise reasonable doubt specifically as to this murder charge.
So here is a text message that we have, screenshot, that we have from Alex McCarty, who's in 636, and this is at 11:51 a.m. on November 21st, 2016. And what he says to Riley is, "Bro, are you doing okay?" Now this is after Ashley Donlin has notified Riley that something's wrong with Emma. This is after Riley has told Andrew Stanley that they found Emma hurt. This is after David Wise has been to Riley Gaul's home. And this is Alex McCarty saying, "Bro, are you doing okay?" "I'm not, but thank you." On down, and I didn't put all the screenshots up there. They're in the exhibits. You have every right to them.
What Alex says here at the bottom, dude, just tell me what's going on. Did she get shot? At this point, Riley, and the reality of his reckless conduct, his bizarre behavior has sunk in. And this is what he says. Alex, I really can't talk about any of it without breaking down. Just promise me you won't talk to them again. And we'll talk a little bit about all the stuff with the tampering with evidence a little bit later. But the purpose of this is to show, we believe, that Riley did not mean to hurt her and cause her death. Now, so, obviously, if you can see the person you're shooting, that will give you some intent.
Well, after the testimony, the evidence, the arguments, the jury instructions, and 4 hours of deliberations, what did the jury decide? Let's take a look.
Goldberg, in count one, the first defined offense, charging the defendant with first-degree murder. Did the jury reach a verdict?
Yes, we did.
What is your verdict?
Guilty.
Yep, the jury convicted Riley Gaul across the board. First-degree murder, stalking, felony murder, tampering with evidence. Although nothing will bring Emma back, we can say that justice was served for her family. Riley Gaul is behind bars. Yes, the 18-year-old was sentenced to 51 years in prison. And I'll give you a little bit of an update. Despite Gaul's multiple attempts to overturn the conviction and get a new trial, they were all rejected, including by the Tennessee Supreme Court. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.